Okay, so let's get started. Hello everyone and welcome to today's webinar. So my name is Dr. Emily Martin and I am the Programme Director for the undergraduate sports psychology course here at St Mary's University. So today I'm going to spend about half an hour talking to you about the degree programme, so what we cover in terms of the modules here and what you might then be able to do as a career opportunity following studying sports psychology with us at St Mary's University. So just to start off, I wanted to talk to you about the local area here. So you guys are based just down the road in Richmond. You've probably got a pretty good idea of what the local area is like. However, St Mary's is situated in quite a unique situation in the sense that we are a really lovely small campus-based university. Okay, so we have smaller numbers within our year groups, which means as staff members, we get to know all of our students by name. But it also, we're in a unique position because of where we're located. So you can walk 5 minutes down the road to Strawberry Hill Station, jump on a train, and within 20 to 30 minutes, you're in the heart of London. You're walking around Waterloo, walking down the South Bank next to the river. We're also just down the road from Richmond, Riverside, and the river in Tenton Lock. Okay, so there are some really beautiful places that you can go and visit if you are a student studying with us. We've also got Richmond Park and Bushy Park on our doorsteps. So if you are an avid runner, you might want to go running in those lovely big green open spaces. And then in Twickenham, I've got a couple of pictures here. So on the left-hand side, we've got the Exchange, which is a building that St Mary's owns. And so it's just directly opposite Twickenham Station. And essentially in the Exchange, we run some really fun events. It's got a theatre in there where we showcase comedians sometimes. We host our own TED Talks, our own version of TED Talks. And all of these events are open to students to go and attend, as well as the public. We've also got on the other side of the screen there a picture of Twickenham Stadium. So we're very fortunate to be right next to the heart of England rugby. Not only is it a brilliant opportunity as a student to go for a day out, but also it provides a lot of work opportunities for students whilst they're studying with us to earn a little bit of money alongside their studying. So St Mary's University is in a beautiful location, and we're very fortunate to be so close to all of these different facilities and spaces in terms of right in the heart of London, 30 minutes that way, and then maybe 10 minutes this way, you're in some green open spaces. So the first question will often be asked is, well, what is sports psychology? Okay, so why do I want to come and study sports psychology? What does that actually mean? And it actually encompasses a whole range of things. So when we first think about sports psychology, the first thing that might pop into our mind is optimizing sport performance. So as a sports psychologist working with an athlete, the ultimate aim would be to help them enhance their performance in some way, to allow them to optimize the way that they're thinking, which then translates into their performance and their behaviors. So if we can help with the way that people think, it then helps with the emotions that they feel, so how confident they might be, how anxious they might be feeling, which then influences the way that they can perform and behave. So that's probably the predominant thing that will spring to your mind when you first think about sports psychology and what it actually means. Another big part of sports psychology is mental health and well-being, and this is something that we've seen a big rise within in the last few years. And as a sports psychologist, it's also within the role to make sure that you're looking after or considering these athletes' mental health and well-being. Essentially, what we try to do as practitioners is develop individual psychological skills and techniques. So what that means is we're trying to help people with their motivation. We're trying to help them with understanding how to manage their stress and to cope with their stress. Perhaps stresses that are related to competition, for instance, and to help with the development of those psychological skills, we can teach them techniques such as self-talk, so that inner chatter that we have in our heads. Can we teach these athletes to optimize their self-talk to allow them to become more confident in what they're doing? Can we provide them and work with them to develop an effective goal setting session, goal setting principles to help them across a season? And that will help to develop their motivation. It might help to lower their anxiety. We may also want to help them develop their imagery skills and their visualization. And you'll often see performers like highboard divers utilizing visualization before they go and then perform. So you might be able to see them up on the platform, kind of twisting and turning. And that's them visualizing and mentally rehearsing their performance before they go and do it. As a sports psychologist, you'll often be delivering educational workshops, okay, whereby you've got a group of athletes in front of you and you're delivering psycho-education to them. So allowing them to understand what confidence means, allowing them to understand how to deal with pressure in competitive environments, for instance. And you would do that with team sports, and you would do that if you're working in squads. So for instance, if you've got a squad of endurance performers, you might then deliver this psychoeducation to a group of 30 or 40 athletes. Alongside doing these workshops, you also do a lot of counselling skills as a sports psychologist. So you've got that one-to-one work where you're sitting down with an individual and you can go into more detailed information about what's going on with that individual, and you can work out the best way in which you can work with that athlete to help optimize their sport performance, and it becomes a very tailored intervention for that athlete. Now, the really lovely thing about sports psychology is that you are never doing the same thing all of the time, okay? So we have a wide range of clients. You might be working with youth athletes, okay? So the under-9s football team, and on the next day, you might be working with athletes who are 24, 25 years of age, or you might even be working with masters athletes, okay, who are in their 30s and 40s. So it's a real range of ages that you'll be working with, and also a very vast range of sports that you'll be working with, okay, across individual to team sports. At the bottom, I've said you'll have changing office space. What I mean by that is you won't be just sitting in an office like what I'm in right now day to day, okay? So your office can also be the sporting environment. So you can go along and observe these different practices. You might be standing on the side of a football pitch, observing what the players are doing, and then afterwards doing your one-to-one sessions with them. You might go traveling with a team, okay? And you might be on a tournament with them, and therefore your office day in, day out is with the team, okay? Traveling from hotels, on the coaches, on an aeroplane, across to the competitions that they're competing in. So sports psychology offers a vast range of activities that you would be doing as a professional. So if that profession interests you, what is it that you need to be able to come to St Mary's and study this degree with us? So we're looking for 112 UCAS points, and within that it must include one science subject or PE or psychology. We're looking for a minimum of a grade 4 in maths and your GCSEs, and then dependent if you haven't followed the traditional route in education, we may also consider alternative qualifications as well. So to give you an overview of the degree programme that we offer here at St Mary's, So first of all, the main thing really to consider or to take note of is that we are accredited by the British Psychological Society. And that's something that's really important if this is a career pathway that you want to go down, to make sure that you choose a degree, a university that offers a sports psychology degree that is accredited by the British Psychological Society. And the reason for that is because if you want to become a sports psychologist, you have to be, you have to kind of go through different stages before you can legally call yourself a sport and exercise psychologist. And the very first step is to do an undergraduate degree that is accredited by the BPS. Okay, so that is one thing that's really important for you to look out for if this is of interest to you. So to give you a little bit of an overview of the degree programme in its entirety, so because we are accredited by the British Psychological Society, it means that you have to do some core elements of the degree programme. And those core elements are in this box here. Okay, so it means that you will be studying cognitive psychology. So you're looking at how we think within psychology, what do we pay attention to, what's our perception of different things. You'll be covering social psychology, which is, as human beings, we are social creatures. So it looks at things like the relationships that we develop with other people. How do we form groups within society, for example? Developmental psychology is all about how our psychology and our brain develops across time. Okay, so moving from being an infant all the way through to being an adult, and the differences across that journey in terms of the way we think, feel and behave. And then we look at biological psychology as well. So looking at the neuroscience of the brain, how do our hormones influence the way that we think? And then to kind of anchor all of these things together, you'll be studying research methods. Okay, so research methods is really important. It's understanding how we gather knowledge. It's understanding what statistics means in research papers, understanding how we can interview people to find out lots of relevant information to enhance our knowledge about psychology. So there are lots of different ways in which we can utilize research to enhance our understanding of sports psychology. Now, alongside those core areas of psychology, you'll be looking at specific elements of sports psychology. And here are some of the modules that you would be taking if you were to come and do the degree with us at St Mary's. So at the top there, you've got fundamentals of sports psychology and skill acquisition. You would cover this in your first year here with us. Okay, and this is when we start to look at those core concepts of psychology, such as theories of confidence. You'll look at motivational theories. We'll look at anxiety, stress and coping. Okay, so all of the fundamental theories of sports psychology will be covered in your first year. We'll also look at a topic that we call skill acquisition. And what skill acquisition means is, how do we learn skills, motor skills? Okay, so how do we go from being a novice performer all the way up to being an expert performer in our sports? Okay, and it's almost like the psychology behind coaching. Okay, the psychology behind skill learning. So that's what you would do in your first year. In your second year, we move into a module called Contemporary Insights into Sports Psychology, and this is a really, really interesting module. So within this module, we look at what we consider the darker side of sports psychology. So we look at things like injury. Okay, we look at concepts such as career transitions in sport. Okay, so once an athlete decides that that's the end of the road for them, they want to transition out of sport, how does a sports psychologist come in and help with that transition of retirement? We look at disordered eating. So an example of disordered eating being sports where there is some kind of weights management that needs to occur, so judoka, boxing, and they've got weight classifications. There's lots of research around what these athletes do to try to manage that weight, okay, and we call that disordered eating, so the type of strategies that these athletes might engage in to try to drop water weight. We also look at burnout in sport, high performance cultures. There's been a lot of talk in the media lately around British gymnastics and US gymnastics and the culture within that high performance environment. So those are the types of topical debates that we would have within contemporary insights into sports psychology. Social psychology of sport, looking at things like the coach-athlete relationship. Okay, it's one of the most significant relationships within the sporting environment. So how well the athletes get on with their coach has a huge role to play in performance moving forward. We also look at things like leadership, interpersonal perception, and the such like. So it's a really, really engaging topic area that we look at in terms of this social element of sports psychology. And then we lead into applied sports psychology, which is our third year sports psychology module. And this is where, as students, you get to step into the hypothetical shoes of the sports psychologist. So we give you an opportunity to go out and do what we call a needs analysis. So you implement some psychological assessments with an athlete. So you go and interview them, you observe them in practice, you might give them out some psychometrics, and then you have to interpret that data and try to make sense of that data, and then hypothetically propose what you would then do with that athlete if you were a psychologist. So it's a really engaging module where students can then put everything that they have learned in the previous 2 years into practice. And then at St Mary's, we do also offer some work placement modules whereby students have the opportunity to go and get some experience in the workplace and to start to make connections and start to network with organisations beyond the university. So that's an overview of the degree programme. And just to give you a little bit more of a specific insight into what is offered in each year. I won't go through all of these modules in any detail, but just to show you that in each year we do have core modules, which are the modules that you have to take throughout the year, and we have optional modules as well. So in any year at university, you will be studying 6 modules per year. So that is 3 modules in your first semester and 3 modules in your second semester. So as you can see in your first year, you have 5 core modules. And within those core modules, you can see that you've got those core elements of sports of psychology that we spoke about that allows you to attain that BPS accreditation. So you've got social, developmental, cognitive and biological psychology alongside your research methods modules. You'll notice in the optional modules that you've got 4 options there. So what you would do is you would choose one of those options as your 6th module that you do in your first year. In your second year, again, you can see that you've got 5 core modules, and then you get 1 more optional module that you can take in your second year. And this is just an overview of what those module titles are. And then lastly, in your third year, you've then got 2 core modules, which are at the top. So your independent project, and this is the pinnacle of your time at university. So it allows you to go away and do your own research project. So you can come up with your own title, you go out and you collect some data and you interpret that data and discuss what you have found. And we get some really interesting research project ideas from our students. Okay. You then have your applied sports psychology module, which we spoke about earlier. So stepping into the hypothetical shoes of a sports psychologist. And then you can see that there's a whole range of optional modules that you can take in your third year. So you get to choose 4 of those optional modules. So your third year is really the opportunity for you to start to specialise in the areas that you're really interested in. So in terms of what makes our degree a little bit different to any other university where you could go and study sports psychology, is that we have a very fast developing program with regards to sports psychology. So we are currently in our second year of running this degree program, and it's one of the fastest developing programs within our department. Okay, so we're seeing our numbers rapidly rising, which means and indicates that this is an area that's continually growing and people are very interested in. We've also got a Sports Psychology Society here, which is a student-led organisation, and it means that those students studying sports psychology have an opportunity to meet up outside of their classes, outside of their lectures, and they can meet for various reasons. So they can meet to have intellectual debate around particular topics. They can also meet for social reasons, okay? So they might head down and do the local pub quiz, for instance, and it's an opportunity for you to get to meet other students and to make connections and friendships there. One really successful event that we had last year, we had a guest speaker coming in from the FA, the Football Association, and she is a performance psychologist within the FA, and she spoke to our students for an hour about what it is like to be a professional sports psychologist within the football environment, and it allowed the students to have a question and answer forum with her afterwards. The students absolutely loved that event, and they found it very, very beneficial. So the Sports Psychology Society is a really, really lovely aspect of our degree. We've got a fantastic range of lecturers here. We've got a really friendly team. We're all research active, which means that we're conducting our own research, which gets published and peer reviewed. We've got a couple of members of staff who are involved in world-leading injury research, for example. And alongside that, we've got other members of staff who are applied practitioners too. So as well as doing some research, they are working with athletes in the field, actually delivering, and they are sports psychologists. Okay, and they can bring those stories into the lectures and almost bring some of these theories and concepts to life. And then, as I said at the start, St Mary's has got a really lovely community feel. So we're a fairly small university in comparison to other institutions. But what that means is we do know our students by name. We have a very strong pastoral aspect to our work here, meaning that we have an open door policy, so students can come and see us whenever they want to ask for additional help. All students will be assigned a personal tutor who they can go to if they are struggling with their work or they just want to have a chat about their life at St Mary's. Just a bit of a fun fact that I forgot to point out earlier on, that both Mo Farah and Joe Wicks, you can see them racing on our track here on campus. They were both alumni, or are both alumni of St Mary's. So they did study here at one point in time. You can guess who won that race as well. And then lastly, let's have a little chat about the career opportunities that studying something like sports psychology would provide. So I've put a picture up there of an oyster shell holding the world, and the point of that is that by doing a sports psychology degree, the world is your oyster really in terms of career opportunities. The most obvious career opportunity following a sports psychology degree is to then go on and train as a sport and exercise psychologist. So to do that, you would then need to complete a master's in sports psychology. So at St Mary's we do have a master's program here, which again is BPS accredited. And then you would need to go on a little bit further than that. After you've completed your master's, you then go on to do what's called stage 2 with the BPS, and that is another further 2 years of training under supervision to then become fully qualified as a practitioner. Now, you aren't pigeonholed into only doing sports psychology if you do a sports psychology undergraduate degree. You can actually then go off, if you decide after your 3 years that you're more interested in clinical psychology or political psychology, you can then go off and train in any of those areas with a master's degree. Okay, because you've done all of those core elements, so you've done cognitive, biological, developmental, and social psychology across your 3 years, it then enables you to go forward and train within any aspect of psychology within your master's. Okay, so it's a really brilliant degree program that has multiple opportunities for you to kind of go off into following your degree. Now, a lot of people find that they're really interested in sports psychology, but that's not necessarily the career option that they want to go down. So we get a lot of students after completing this degree who actually want to go and teach. Okay, so following your undergraduate degree, you would then go and do a PGCE in teaching. Okay, and we do get lots of students that want to go and follow that pathway. It might be that you want to work within an organisational body. Okay, so you could go and work for UK Sport or the English Institute of Sport. There could be opportunities there to go and work within those sectors. You might want to get involved with politics. So one example of a student that we've recently had who's graduated, she was very interested in sports psychology, but towards her 3rd year became very interested in political psychology. And so now she's heading into sports politics. Okay, so there's that gateway open to you as well. You could head into HR or the charity sector. You've got charities such as Women in Sport. You know, with a sports psychology degree, you can go and work within these charity sectors, looking at policies that are put in place to help with equality within sport. We get students that might go into law enforcement, so the police, the ambulance, the fire brigade. So really what I'm trying to say is sports psychology is a very amenable degree program to come and study. It's contemporary, it's fast developing as a popular degree. You've got numerous pathways that you can go down. So please don't think that by doing a sports psychology degree, you're pigeonholed into that career. You've got multiple opportunities available to you once you then graduate. Now, if you found that this talk has been interesting, that actually it spurred you into thinking maybe you want to do sports psychology as a degree program, please click on this link here and it will take you to an inquiry form. And if you put your details in, then it means that at St Mary's we can send you any communication to you with regards to the sports psychology degree that you might find interesting. Okay, so if you are interested, just pop your details into that form once you've clicked onto the link, and then we will be in touch with you a little bit more. But thank you very much for your attention. If you do have any specific questions for me, my email address is on the screen here. Please just pop me an email and I will get back to you as soon as I can. Thank you very much for listening.